Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's weekly market check-in with myself, your host, Greta Wall, and the leader of T3 Live's Inner Circle Virtual Trading Floor, David Prince. Hi, David. Thanks for doing this as usual. How's your day going so far today?
We are having a very good day today.
Great. All right, then should be a good discussion then. All right, let's get right into our topics here. First, we're going to start out with NVIDIA, of course, a major focus for the market this week with the GTC conference still going on today. It's a 3-day conference, but kicked off yesterday. The highlights of yesterday, of course, were CEO Jensen Huang announcing a new generation of AI chips called Blackwell. The first Blackwell chip, the GB200, is going to ship later this year. A quote from him was, "Hopper is fantastic, but we need bigger GPUs." And NVIDIA also announced some new AI software, NIM or NIM, saying the company is becoming more of a platform provider similar to Apple or Microsoft, not just a chip maker at this point. NVIDIA falling today after day one of the GTC. This is a look at the chart from earlier today. Actually, I haven't updated myself on the stock, so let's just double check. But yeah, still lower. But approaching the that orange line you can see there is the 21-day, and the yellow line is the 50-day. And you had tweeted yesterday that you liked NVIDIA at the 21-day. So talk about saying it would be a delightful buying opportunity. Talk about how you traded, if you did trade NVIDIA heading into the event, and then what you've been doing with the stock today after day one of GTC.
Sure. To walk you through simple form, what I did was we bought stock last week, 870s. I think I did it while I was traveling, but anyway, we bought it 870s. And yesterday, I think a lot of people on the street thought, okay, there'll be a nice big move into the event. And then like a lot of events, maybe there'll be a breath where everyone does some selling. So first off, I got very small into yesterday's move higher. Maybe 918 and 920, somewhere, can't be exact, but between 1918 and 920, I basically had a negligible position and sold most. And said, all right, let's let the price discover itself as this event begins. And as the event began, it was phenomenal. And we can talk about, the event and what he said and the fact that Moore's law may no longer exist because of Jensen. But what I ultimately did is I looked at the stock this morning and I realized, which I tell Inner Circle all the time, if you try and be exact on price, especially in special ideas or specifically stocks, the best ideas, don't stay around too long to let you get in. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll have a full-size position on NVIDIA if we get into the 21-day, which is down at 826, but who am I to say it's going to go there? This, so far, although it's a technical event, which we'll discuss, versus like an analyst update, it's a star-studded event where he said things that a lot of people thought would never exist in their lifetime. So I started buying at 856s and I kept adding 851 and I left some room in case we went to the 21-day. We never went there. Now we're 868s and into 870. I trimmed a lot, not a lot. I trimmed about half because we're going into the FOMC and I'm not too bullish the markets. But how I played is I got long again about 17, 18 points ago and have trimmed some and remain long some. And I'm sure I'll remain long throughout the day.
All right. This event is, of course, not just about NVIDIA. There's, over 300 other companies and speakers involved in this 3-day event. Dell being a focus during it. Jensen saying yesterday, we have a great partnership with Dell. Nobody is better at building end-to-end systems than Dell. You had tweeted back in February about Dell and its relationship with NVIDIA, saying Dell said its backlog of artificial intelligence servers, most of them that are powered by NVIDIA H100 chips, has now reached $2.9 billion, compared with $1.6 billion last quarter and $800 million 2 quarters ago. So the company obviously has a lot of demand for NVIDIA's products. How does the relationship with NVIDIA, you think, impact Dell as a company and as a stock?
Sure. The first thing is, if you really watch the event, I think most people who have been around really were impressed by the amount of respect he gave to Michael Dell himself. how he pointed him out several times in the audience up front and talked about, the quality of what they do and how they're best in breed in building end-to-end servers. So just by the reverence he gave him and the company, it kind of stood out. There was Synopsys. There were a few companies that really, I say, would get the pin action from an event like that. And no doubt Dell, after earnings showing that, AI demand was through the roof, was one that was pointed out last night that I think maybe some people didn't understand, that they have a lot of tailwind through AI and specifically NVIDIA, that they're a big benefactor. So I think it put it on the map for the people that didn't already know. And also, oh, I got to turn this down. But he really also recognized Michael himself, because let's face it, he's one of the original huge CEOs that, made people billions upon billions of dollars. Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I had my mic. It was me. So for you personally,
one second. I apologize. People, I will be trimming MSTR. This is a hell of a move off the lows of the day, and I am going to take some profits here. I have some orders in to trim. Be back in a moment. Mom with Greta. Hi, Greta.
All right. Well, and that's great, actually, for everyone who's with us here. David is actively trading throughout the session. There's a look at kind of how he alerts the inner circle, live as he's doing things. If you guys want to apply to join the inner circle, you can go to t3live.com/DP and apply. Registration has been reopened after we had a waiting list open for a few weeks. So again, that's t3live.com/DP. You get live updates from David throughout the session as he is actively trading every single day. So that's nice, David. All right. So for you, as someone who is focused on this event and is actually paying attention to what is being said and how it can have impacts on other companies, things like that, what's been your big takeaway so far from GTC? What are you looking for maybe over today and Wednesday as well?
Okay, so I'm not a tech expert, but I read a lot, right? So I understand. Here's my big takeaway, that everything you thought was possible, right, that they could say, they said, and more. And that the breadth of what they're doing can truly change the world. And that it's not really hype. That what they've created means that so much that's been literally created chip-wise and server-wise just in the past few years is almost become obsolete. And that the breadth of their business is, to some degree, unless the economy just goes whoosh, is almost guaranteed to be really strong for a couple of years, because they've gotten so advanced that a lot of people that were buying product just 2 or a year ago are already realizing that they're behind, right? And that if they want to catch up on the best in breed chips that can do things that no one ever envisioned based on the size of them, that they got to upgrade and they got to buy more. And then if you look at, sorry to keep saying the word breadth, but the breadth of industry, right? Industrial and automotive and medical supply, and you really focused a lot on weather and the environment. I mean, it just kept going on, and there was a whole mention about Johnson & Johnson and something they're doing with them. Just the breadth of industry that he can attack is enormous. Now, I'm a trader and a money manager, so I also take that with a grain of salt. I'm not like, oh my God, guys, I just found out about this, buy NVIDIA. No, buy NVIDIA at 500 when it was breaking out. But it's also why NVIDIA isn't just coming in today. There are a lot of like idiots who are like, NVIDIA is going to get crushed because sell the news. Look what it's doing. There are a lot of people who realize it, first off, is not expensive, right? There are a lot of companies that trade well above 30 times forward earnings. Secondly, that are not changing the world, right? That are not breaking what we thought was like a rule forever, which is Moore's law, that basically thought they could just double what the previous chip was. Now they're doing like, I don't even know what the number is, but the capacity is way beyond doubling every year. So yeah, he produced everything he needed to and more, and it's not an analyst event. It's a technical event where there's a lot of jargon where I was like going through a thesaurus, not literally, but I was like, what the hell did that word mean? So I think there's some people who didn't realize, no, he's not going to get up there and be like, yo, I'm splitting the stock and raising earnings estimates. That's not the type of event it is. It's a real event for technology people that really want to make apps and take advantage of this incredible chip that he's built, Blackwell, and be ahead over the next couple of years. So far, it's been great. And like I said, it's going to touch so many industries. It's not even funny. In the meantime, stock's trading pretty well versus the rest of the market that is a bit weak here.
For just a reminder for everyone who's here with us live, if you have any questions for David throughout this live stream, whether you're on Twitter, YouTube, or here on StreamYard with us, go ahead and submit those in the comments and we'll make sure to answer them all. David, another stock in this AI space that is definitely weaker than NVIDIA today is SMCI after announcing a new share offering. Supermicro Computers filing saying they plan to sell 2 million additional shares of common stock, which would push the total outstanding to over 58 million shares. Goldman Sachs is the underwriter of this offering. SMCI is saying the principal purpose of the offering is to obtain additional capital to support operations, including for the purchase of inventory and other working capital purposes, et cetera, et cetera. Here's a look at the stock from earlier today as of 9:45 Eastern, falling below that 21-day moving average. That's that orange line there. What are your thoughts on the offering this morning and how it impacts SMCI?
I think, so I don't use any pretty words, I think it pissed some people off. After doing a convertible just a couple weeks ago, to come right back and raise capital, I get why he's doing it, but I think a lot of people, especially retail traders who thought, I pulled in and I got to buy the pullback and it's riding this incredible wave of AI. I think they're like, whoa, what the hell just happened? I personally was not in, just because yesterday some people asked me, I said, I think it breaks the 21 day. I didn't know another offering was coming, but I thought, if I'm going to buy the dip in a market I'm not that bullish on, it's going to be in the number one play in this arena, which is Nvidia. So I wasn't particularly bullish SMCI and thought it would break the 21 day. And then it already did. And once it did, I was like, stay away. It has plenty of room to the downside. On this deal, I think it's going to put some pressure on the stock. However, after tapping the high 1100s and having, again, a nice tailwind because of Nvidia and the scale of their business and how well they're doing in front of another earnings season that's coming up over the next month, I would say that it'll find some buyers in the low 800s in front of the 50-day, which is even below that, down in the low 700s. I think, I'm not even looking at the chart, but 732, 735, somewhere in that range. But if you look, there's some pivots, low 800s, and it seems like it's headed there. It probably is a decent risk reward with the additional 2 million shares. It also should be a little tighter, meaning, less of this 5 and 10 point spreads and quick 30-point moves. So it might even become a little more normal of a stock and less exciting where you get these 50, 100-point moves every day, which for some institutions is a positive because they don't want to buy, 200,000 shares of a stock and move it 100 points. So I could see long-term where it actually is a positive, but it certainly struck some people the wrong way today and has some people going through some pain. Thank God I'm not one of them.
And you weren't looking at the chart. You do have great memory though. The 50-day was 731.76, so right at that 732.
I don't remember anything else but stocks. I always say that.
Yeah, you're great at that. This move by SMCI today comes, of course, a day after the stock began trading on the S&P 500 yesterday. We talked about the impact of the S&P move, ahead of time, but now that has happened, this offering has happened. There's still, of course, chatter about the possibility of a stock split. What do you see on the stock? I think
there'll definitely
being in the S&P.
It definitely will be a stock split. I just don't know when, and you'll probably see 100 points, up 150 when it happens. In terms of when, I wish I had like an edge as to when. We should probably look at when their annual meeting is or something like that. If I were to tell you any edge, look at something like that if it's coming up. Otherwise, I have no clue when, but it would seem appropriate given the illiquidity sometimes, right? A lot of people don't really understand why they do these things. A lot of time it's just to create more liquidity because they're so high priced, there are not enough shares out there that they're thin. So it does make it more retail friendly because retail can be scared of stocks that have 20-point spreads at times. Well, not 20, but 5 and 10, and can go up and down 30 points in a couple trades. So I would expect one. I just have no clue when, but I would say there's very high odds, unless it pulls back a quick 200 points, that they are going to split their stuff.
All right, and you told me before we started this that you've been very active in MicroStrategy today. This coming as Bitcoin is, of course, pulling back pretty hard. It's around, last I looked, it was like right around 64,000. So a little bit of recovery from that 63,000 mark. What have you been doing with MicroStrategy today? Walk us through the trade and how it's been going for you.
All right, here's what I did. This morning, I bought some stock, 1330s, and it rallied pre-open towards 1350, 60, somewhere around that, 1350, 1360, and I trimmed a bunch because I thought, it's pre-market, it's such a quick move. If I can make 20 some odd points really quickly, let me take some off. Bitcoin is under pressure into its 21-day near 62,000, and MSTR is probably going to test its 21-day, which was right below 1,200. So when you do simple math and you look at the stock at 1350 and you realize the 21-day is, well, 150 points below, I'd rather miss some upside and stay small till we get closer. And sure enough, we did. And I continued to buy it all the way. I would say I dug in starting about 1280 to 1290, all the way down. I think my low print, someone was asking me on the chat, was like 1338-ish. And got, fairly big there because there was a reason. There was a level to measure against. And excuse me, 1200s, 1238-ish, because the 21-day was down at like 1190. So what I like to do on a stock like this that is not Nvidia is, first off, leave room. Meaning, when I'm buying Nvidia, sometimes I'll get impatient because I understand other people might be, because it's best in breed and it's not a Michael Saylor wild stock that just went up 1,000 points. When it comes to a MicroStrategy, you're not backed by reinventing the world in earnings. So I leave some room and assume the 21-day might happen. The closer we get to the 21-day, the more I get sized. And we got pretty close. We got about 40, 50 points when we came into the 1230s. And we just had a miraculous, huge bounce. I told people at 1298, I said, if we can get through this 1300 again, then you can get the whoosh breakout. And we've had that. And now we're at 1367. And I'm down to like a 20% position. It's kind of a home run to be. I think people are spoiled. Like, they keep making 50 points. I've made 50 and 70 points on Nvidia back and forth the past couple of weeks. This is not trading. That's not how it's supposed to be every day. I wish it was. I'd be so rich, I'd be retired, right? But it's just not what it is. Right now, we're getting it. So for me, I'm like, I have an average cost, 1260, 1270 is we're at 1374. I'm trimming most. And if it rallies all the way to 1450, I don't give a what, because the FOMC is tomorrow, because Bitcoin has had a huge move, although we've bounced from lows. I am overall more constructive, and I am what you call an opportunist in the market, but not particularly bullish. But if things happen, like last Friday, I got aggressive on AMD, rallied, I sold it. The point is, more of a short-term trader. I see less to invest him in now, as we've discussed, till we get a more of a prolonged pullback. So that's how I played MSTR. And right here at 1378, I'm going to get pretty small, in fact.
All right. You mentioned it. The FOMC is tomorrow. Fed decision coming up tomorrow. That 2-day meeting kicked off today. The statement will be out at 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. No rate changes expected, but we are getting an updated summary of economic projections, which is the dot plot. And then Powell's presser will be at 2:30. The market is still seeing about a 55% chance of a June rate cut at this point ahead of the meeting. This could very much change tomorrow based on that dot plot and what Powell has to say. You sent out this tweet over the weekend saying what you were focused on was the dot plot on the 2:30 Powell speech, questioning whether Powell tempers expectations for future rate cuts. That's the question. So where the market is right now, how are you positioning yourself ahead of the Fed meeting tomorrow? And I know you approached these kinds of binary events with if this happens, this is what I will do. So if you have any of those kind of strategies that you'd like to share, if A, then B.
Sure. I'm a little less market weighted, meaning I'm weighted in stocks I don't mind owning, regardless of what the market does. Like Immunome has been pulling back. I got a little more neutral on it because it had ran to 30 and was up 500%. Today, it came closer to its 50-day in the 21s. I said, time to buy some Immunome again. We did. And I certainly am a long-termer in it, and I don't care what the Fed does tomorrow. I will remain. So that's how I'm playing it, right? NVIDIA, I don't really care what the Fed does tomorrow. If it comes close to the 21-day, I buy it. I did. Now it's higher. I trim some, and I'm more neutral. But I am more, and this is just guesstimates, right? I am of the thought that he might guide us closer to 2 cuts, not 3, which might be more of a negative reaction to the market. But I am so open-minded. If he changes my mind and for some reason is a bit more dovish, then I know that small caps have pulled back. Pretty great deal, right? We were 210 on IWM not too long ago. XBI, which I was a little bit more constructive on, saying, it might pull back. That has some upside now. So I'm more neutral rated in less indices and more of my favorite stocks at the right prices. And of the thought that he might actually guide us to being a little slower on rate cuts and to expect maybe 2, not 3. I'm not an economist. It just seems like the information we're getting is not anything to suggest the market is really slowing down that much or the jobs market is. I understand there's some lagging reports, meaning that we're like revising down some of the jobs growth, but overall, there's nothing to say, oh my God, we've come down a great deal. But he might also look forward and say, I'm in a good position. I'd rather protect the economy from slowing down too much. So I'm okay with 1 rate cut, but don't expect back to back. Maybe there'll be some space in between. So I'm really open-minded, but I think if I had to guess, which I'm paid to do, right? Because I take risk every day, is I'd assume there's a bit more downside into this report than upside, partially by where the market is, right? If we were under 400 on the Qs and the S&P was trading at 15, 16 times, maybe not, but that's not the case. So I'm a bit more defensive into tomorrow, but I also have a decent brain. So if he gets dovish, I will pivot and I will be very long some small caps, specifically IWM, add to some XBI, and probably some of my favorite smaller cap type names.
When it comes to a Fed day, the morning part of the session, or really that pre-2 p.m. part of the session, can be a little boring as people kind of wait around. And then that 2 to 2:30 can be kind of volatile. And then, of course, that 2:30 to 3 while he's talking, it can be super volatile. What is your favorite part of a Fed day to actively trade?
The one where he starts cursing at the guys who enter the room. Remember that one? No, I'm teasing. So I mean, where we're at when everything is so obvious, meaning it's not like the old days with Greenspan and briefcases. So there's so much said before. It really comes down to reading the language at 2:30, right? Because it's almost like he tells us everything before, whether it's from Nick over to Nick Timmeros, or whether it's from just Fed governors speaking. There's not a lot of shock and awe in these events anymore. So it's really about the language at 2:30, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Besides that, it'll be the dot plot. Is there an immediate change in the dot plot to show maybe 2 cuts, not 3?
Okay. All right. A new name coming to the market this week is Reddit. Reddit going public on Thursday. You sent out this tweet over the weekend saying pricing nearly 22 million shares between 31 and 34, which puts it at a $6.5 billion valuation. You said you doubt this deal holds syndicate bid too long. Just give me your thoughts on the Reddit IPO. Do you have any plans to participate in the early trading?
No interest. I think it's like, I get it why it'll do okay, because there's such a lack of IPOs, specifically technology IPOs, especially brand name unicorn type IPOs. But it's kind of late in their trajectory. It is not early in their growth period. They're kind of trying to revamp it and make it a growth company. Very rarely does that work. That's part of why Jensen is such a superstar. A lot of people don't realize how long NVIDIA's been around and how he completely changed the face of the company from being an average Joe semiconductor company. When it comes to Reddit, like beyond so uninterested, just don't care. I think it'll be up a little bit, and eventually if it's up too much, a bunch of shorts will come in, and I don't think it'll hold that bit too long. But I don't know if there'll be enough meat on the bone to be short. I just have no interest. Like, I don't see the risk reward in it.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's get an update on XBI. On Friday, you said
First, things are going bananas. Today, can we keep it short? Not trying to be rude.
Yes. We're getting to the end here.
Sure.
All right. XBI, you with me last Tuesday said that we should bottom near the 50-day, probably around 93. And we got that 93.15 close on Friday. You tweeted that out. Let's look at the chart as of earlier this morning. You can see right there, right around the 50-day, the 92.87. The stock was trading up just around 93 this morning. Where are you on your XBI position? What's happening with your trade lately, and how are you feeling about it moving forward?
As opposed to when we were in the 60s and 70s, and I thought it was best in breed in terms of individual sectors where you can really find the best risk reward. Bottom line, lose the least amount of money and possibly have the most upside as a percent in any sector. I think those days are more long term now. And what I mean by that is we're going to be a bit more Fed dependent and interest rate cut dependent. But if we ever pull back even lower than this to like 88 and 90, I'd buy and be fairly aggressive. Here, I'm an okay buyer, but I do think whether it's IWM, whether it's the Qs, whether it's XBI, whether it's XLF, so much of the future in the market is going to be on economic numbers and the Fed, and it's going to be data dependent. So it's okay here. I'm more bullish this sector over the next 6 months than I am almost any sector, but I know people are price conscious. So could it easily, especially on a more hawkish Fed, be 88, 90 before it's 120? Absolutely. But if you ask me, let's say you're just a long-term investor and you're looking to put money away for the next 2 years and you want to see where the market hasn't priced in upside, I would say that's absolutely XBI. And then who cares about a few points you want to be long, and that's why I remain.
All right, great. Let's go to a question from Twitter from Eric. He wants your thoughts on Microsoft. So according to technical analysis, Microsoft is not expensive. The RSA and MACD are not at a high level. Should we wait to buy after the Fed speaks tomorrow? Since October of last year, in each correction, it has stopped on average around 50 days. What are your thoughts on Microsoft here?
First off, I use charts every day, but I don't consider myself like the ultimate chartist. I find myself to use them to my advantage. But there's one thing he has wrong. No, I've never heard anyone in my life say, according to technical analysis, it's not expensive. They don't go together in the same sentence. That's valuation. Right. So I just want to explain that to him because he might be new. Technical analysis and valuation have nothing to do with each other. Trust me on that. But the chart and the stock have been trading very well for several days. I believe it was last week where it really broke out, got above the 8 and 10 day and made new highs up at 427, and then pulled back right into the 8 and 10 day and was one of the first stocks to do well this morning. And now it's up 4. It went green, way before the market bounce. Here we are on NASDAQ about to go green, by the way. But I think it looks good. Here's how I trade in this environment. I do not trade with every stock in mind. I trade with every stock versus the indices and the climate in mind. And I can make this really simple for you. The market is way ahead of itself by a lot of measures when you want to talk about evaluation, what the S&P and the Q's PE is, right? And you're not early in Microsoft. You had a wonderful dip all through December, and then you had a great dip even at the beginning of this month where we touched the 20, was that the 21 day? No, the 50 day down at 397. Here we are at 422. Do I think there's an edge in buying a stock that's merely pennies or a couple dollars away from recent all-time highs right into a Fed? No, that takes all your edge out. What I like to say is I like to be as least tethered to the market as possible, meaning if the market goes up, I want to win. But if it goes down, I don't want it to be out of my hands. I want to somewhat control my destiny. And the only thing we could do with that is size and price. So by buying Microsoft 20 points higher than where it was 2 weeks ago, you've taken one of my most important factors out. So I'm not a buyer, but I don't manage money that way. I just assume, I missed it and let it go higher. I much prefer buying MicroStrategy into a level I feel I can count on. And I'm not showing off because I did well in it today, but it's just what I look for. One of the most bullish stocks the past few weeks. It's done nothing but go straight up. I had no FOMO. I figured, I missed it. It finally came in today to a level I can identify as a great risk reward spot. And here we are, and I'm up, I don't know, 130, 40 points on what I have left. So for me, Microsoft is not what I'd buy. Beyond that, I'd go to Amazon because I much prefer that. Or I would have bought Tesla on Friday, which had one of its longest downdrafts in terms of number of days in many years. So Microsoft, not interesting to me here. Best in breed company, so on. But by the way, not cheapest. Just to remind you again, it actually trades at a higher valuation PE than most stocks in what was once called FANG.
Okay. We get this question, I feel like most weeks, but Fame from Twitter wants to know your thoughts on Palantir.
Yeah, he's got some of the best hair in the CEO category. So seriously, I'm not an expert in it. I played in it, made a little bit of money. Recently, I bought it 24s. It went to the 25s. I sold some because I'm late in the game. The days of buying it on sale obviously came and went. The stock is up 100% over the past year or so, and it's kind of stalled. What I think is it's going to be really it's going to be tethered to the market and Nvidia and the AI trade. It broke its 21-day, so not the best sign. I sold some in the 25s, and then last Friday as I was traveling, I said, you know, it's going to break the 21. Let me get out of the way. Since it broke the 21, it continues lower, and it really looks like it has a date closer to the 50-day down at 21. Risk reward, given their recent, success and a couple quarters back-to-back of strength, I could see it being an okay buy at 21s.
All right, great. And then Sauda wants to know what you think of Monolithic Power Systems, saying it's gone down 100 points in the last week. I don't know what that ticker is.
Don't try. I'm so old, I know most tickers. I've heard of that one a million times. Never traded it.
All right, great. All right.
And I don't mean to be rude. Like if I knew it, I would, comment.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
If you don't have experience with it, why talk about it? All right, let's wrap things up here. You sent out this tweet over the weekend talking about your less is more phrase that you've used here with me several times. You've used on Twitter, you've used in the room. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points on it. Just expand upon this and how you are feeling about the market currently and how you're navigating that in your own trading. And I'll leave this up while you talk so people can read it.
Okay, I'm trying to sell some MSTR.
Go for it. You're good. Here, I'll read this out.
No, I'm listening. Okay, so do you want me to expand upon this? Is that what the question was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is actually, it's funny because this is a perfect way to end. So previously I said, I want to buy stocks I'm comfortable owning. I want to buy them at levels that I feel like at least I'm not just relying on the market to go higher if I'm long, right? I want to think that maybe I bought it at such a decent price that even if the overall market pulls back, I can still make money on that. A great example would be MSTR. Or recently I bought some Mara into the 100-day down at 18 because I felt, no matter what Bitcoin does, the miners are down enough. This is an era to get aggressive, and we did 18s and below, and then it rallied the next couple of days to the 20, 50, something like that yesterday. The point is, I was no longer, in my opinion, short-term relying as much on Bitcoin as I was my entry. I think that's less is more. And that means that maybe there'll be less ideas you do because you're waiting for your levels. And then when they come, you exercise and you make sure you execute them. You also don't look to get rich on every trade. Let me give you an example. For a couple days, I said we were short AMD and we had puts when it looked like it was going to break 200 for a multitude of reasons, but I got to get off, so I'm going to be quick. What was more important is I said, guys, one of my favorite trades over the coming days, and I said it a few times because I knew I'd be traveling the end of last week. I said it's going to be AMD when it comes into the 21-day at 188, and even better if we hit 185 because we were very large there long. That was a big breakout pivot. And I said, you want to buy it? And we did. And I was pretty aggressive. But then by the time it was 190, I was out. I actually missed a couple dollars on the upside. I did not care because I'm not that bullish the market. I made 5 points in a day or two, and I took my money and I ran. Because if you are going to get long in this market, unless it's Nvidia, which I'm still holding, and now, God, I'm up like 30 some odd points, there's not a lot of stocks I'm just comfortable holding. So I think you got to do less. You got to wait for your levels. And then when you're up something like 30, 35 points, don't be the idiot that's like the market's going up forever and Nvidia is going to 1,500 tomorrow. Yeah, probably will one day, but it ain't going to be tomorrow. So make sure to take some profits on the way. So that's really what that's about. It's just not being overly excited, not thinking you're going to miss MSTR at 1,1700. And sure, it went to 1,800, but what if you're the guy that didn't sell it at 1,800 and then today it's 1,200? I mean, what do you do? So I think that's what's about. Being really, a trader can still act like an investor, meaning you can force yourself to, is this the right price? What's my size? Do I own too much? What's my target? And that's where I'm at right now, because I think the overall market has a bit more risk than reward in it. And that's what that tweet is about.
All right. David, I'll let you get back to your trading. Just, a reminder for everyone that he is a real trader and does this all day long. So hope you have a great rest of your trading day, David. Everyone else who's joined us, I hope you guys also have a great day trading. And if you want to apply to trade alongside David in the inner circle, you can go to t3live.com/DP. Have a great rest of your day, David.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.